Yes, good morning, everyone. In a last lecture, we discussed about pollination, different pollinating agents, abiotic and biotic pollinating agents in detail. We go for the next. Our next topic is outbreeding devices. The adaptations which enable the plant to carry out outbreeding, crossbreeding, and avoid self-breeding, self-fertilization. These contrivances are outbreeding contrivances or outbreeding adaptations or outbreeding devices. Let's talk about them. Most of the flowering plants, they have a hermaphrodite flowers. Hermaphrodite means bisexual, both stamens and carpel found in the same flower. In this scenario, there are greater chances that the pollen grain will drop on its own flower stigma and will carry out autogamy. There are greater chances of the same. If this happens, the continued self-pollination means repeatedly autogamy if keeps on occurring. The biggest demerit of the autogamy, it doesn't allow genetic variations to appear over there in the successive generation. So continued self-pollination results into a problem that is called as inbreeding depression. If inbreeding, that is autogamy, if it is allowed for several successive generations, a parental generation in which self-fertilization and a next generation seed, no variation. Again that plant, again autogamy, and again next generation, no variation. If this happens for several generations, gradually the successive generations, their characters become inferior, their reproductive capacity reduces. This is identified as a problem called inbreeding depression. Even in human society, you may have heard about that. The marriages are to be avoided in the families because they have a similar genetic makeup. So basically, the continued self-pollination, the autogamy over the several generations might lead to development of the offsprings, the plants, with the inferior reproductive capacity and overall inferior features. This problem is identified as inbreeding depression. This is the reason why plants have developed many devices, the adaptations that will discourage the autogamy and that will promote the xenogamy over there, the cross pollination. And today we're going to talk about those outbreeding devices such as dichogamy, heterostyle, self incompatibility, and dicliny. So these are some of the major adaptations or devices that are going to encourage the cross pollination and are going to discourage the self pollination. Something that's going to promote xenogamy and is going to, or a geitonogamy even, and is going to avoid autogamy. Starting with the first in that sequence is dichogamy. Opposite to that was homogamy. synchrony in pollen release and stigma receptivity. So if you have it, it is homogamy that will promote autogamy. But if you have a dichogamy, that the pollen release time and the stigma receptivity, they are not synchronized, then the phenomenon is identified as dichogamy. In a same flower, the season in which or the time period in which its pollens are released, in those days, in the same flowers, stigma are not receptive. Not receptive means what? Even if pollen drops on the stigma will not let it germinate. That is called as pollen not being germinated. That is called as stigma is not receptive. So these kind of non-receptivity is there. So this will ensure that there is no autogamy. This is called as dichogamy phenomenon. This can be achieved in two different manners: protandry and protogyny. Protandry is that phenomenon in which in a given plant's flowers, pollen gets released before the stigma becomes receptive, whereas protogyny is the phenomenon in which stigma receptivity is earlier before the pollen is received. So that is how the dichogamy works. It ensures that in the same flower, at a time, either male reproductive structures are active or else female reproductive structures are active. The other one will be active at a later point of time. This is called dichogamy. Either pollen is released and stigma is non-receptive, or else pollen is not released and at that time stigma is receptive enough. That's about the first one. Second device, second arrangement, second contrivance, second adaptation. That is heterostyle. See, in this case, anther and stigma are placed at different position. I'll show you the pic. Have a look. If this is the position of anther, this is the position of stigma. Or other option is if stigma is at a lower, stigma is at a lower position, then the anthers are at a higher position. Ultimately, these arrangements try to avoid autogamy. One of the requirements for autogamy is that ideally the stigma and anther should be parallel to each other, close to each other, so that the pollen drops and easily is received on the stigma of a same flower. But this is to have the autogamy. We don't need that autogamy. So either this or that arrangement that will ensure the closeness of anther and stigma is not there. This is called heterostyle. Style with the different length. यहाँ पे style longer है, यहाँ पे style shorter है. By doing this, it is ensured the anther and stigma are not lying parallel to each other. Third setup, third arrangement, that's called self-incompatibility. See, this is to prevent the inbreeding. This is the genetic mechanism. Here, plant is genetically equipped with the special arrangements that can avoid inbreeding in the given plant. For example, if pollen is received from the same plant, then pollen germination is inhibited. Stigma identifies that it's a self pollen and it should not be allowed to germinate. So one of the arrangement is that pollen germination is avoided altogether. Second possibility, by chance system system fails to stop the pollen germination, pollen tube starts developing. So the second level mechanism is the pollen tube is distorted somewhere in the style region, not allowed to reach up to the ovule, up to the micropyle. So pollen tube growth is restricted in the style region of the pistil. Bottom line is, somehow or anyhow, self pollen is not allowed to fertilize in the given ovule. That kind of a genetic mechanism which is obstructing either pollen tube formation or else extension of pollen tube through the pistil, these are called as self incompatibility. You see, the self pollen is accepted as the incompatible one to avoid self breeding or autogamy over there. Did you understand the self incompatibility? Plant will recognize its own pollen as incompatible in order to avoid the autogamy. It will not allow it to germinate the pollen tube, or else even if pollen tube germinates, it is not going to allow that pollen tube to extend successfully up to the ovule. These are basically genetic mechanisms. Plant itself has a genetic setup which will avoid its inbreeding chances over there. The last amongst them, the outbreeding devices, amongst them, the last one is here. That's called diclini or declini. In diclini, basically the device in which production of unisexual flowers takes place. Plant tends to produce unisexual flowers. Let me show you. Now, two options are here. Number one, either the plant produces both unisexual flowers, male flowers and female flowers on its self. Such plant on which both unisexual flowers are found, the staminate and pistillate flowers, male and female flowers, we call it as a monoecious plant. Examples, castor, maize, etc. are monoecious one. और भी आपने कुछ पढ़े होंगे ना, cucurbits, etc. You may have studied about them. In this plant, one thing is confirmed: there will be no autogamy. Because for autogamy, one of the requirement is what? A bisexual flower, which is not here. यहाँ पे the flower is either male flower or female flower. Yes, one possibility is still left. And that is which one? What I am indicating through this arrow? Geitonogamy. Yes, Swati. So at least geitonogamy is possible, but no autogamy. Your monoecious plants can avoid autogamy, but cannot avoid geitonogamy. That is their limitation. Another possibility is that you have a dioecious plant in which unisexual flowers are born separately, male flowers on a male plant, female flowers on a female plant. So there is no question of autogamy. The moment you have a unisexual flowers, there is no question of autogamy. And when you have a unisexual plant also, the male plant and female plant, only possibility is that they can have xenogamy. So there is no chance of even deuterogamy. Dioecious plants can avoid autogamy as well as deuterogamy. Both possibilities prevail for them. Example, papaya, date palm, etc. How many of you could understand the same? Well, I have completed the topic outbreeding devices. Before I start asking the questions on the same, if you have to say something, if you have any doubt, any question to ask, any clarity that you look for. Well, it seems you have no issues regarding this topic. Let's talk about the outbreeding devices. If a species continues self-pollination, self-fertilization, that is autogamy, the self-pollination over several generations, there is a reduction in the fertility of the species. Reproductive capacity becomes inferior. What is this phenomenon known as? Yes, Prachi Patel, correct. Inbreeding depression. So as to avoid this inbreeding depression, to promote the outbreeding and to discourage the inbreeding, there are certain devices developed. The first possibility, that is called as dichogamy. Can you explain what is a dichogamy? Yes, Devanshi and others, correct. Timings, yeah, there is no synchronization in pollen release and stigma receptivity. Second arrangement is called heterostyle. What happens in the heterostyle? Yes, Siddharth, Heli, etc. Correct. Anther and stigma are placed at different position within the same flower. Which genetic mechanism is employed to avoid autogamy in many plants? What's the name of that genetic mechanism? Yes, Tanvi, correct. Self-incompatibility is such genetic mechanism that will avoid autogamy. In self-incompatibility, one of the possibility that the plant will ensure, and that is which one? Yes, Swati, correct. Pollen tube germination is inhibited. That's one of the possibility. How about the second possibility? By chance, pollen tube has germinated and started extending itself through the style. Yes, Siddharth, correct. Its growth is restricted. Pollen tube growth through the pistil, it has been obstructed, it has been restricted. That's a second possible arrangement. The fourth possibility is the diclini. Diclini का दूसरा meaning क्या होता है? What's the meaning of this term? Unisexuality in flowers. Priyasha, very good answer. Kashish and others there. It's about developing unisexual flowers. The moment you produce the unisexual flowers, at least you start avoiding dash. Yuksha, correct. Autogamy is at least been avoided by the unisexuality of flower. Acha, within that, if you are a monoecious plant, means thoda specify कीजिए. No, this is not an appropriate answer. What type of flowers you got have if you are a monoecious plant? Yes, unisexual male flowers and female flowers, but found on a same plant. Isha or someone was there, I could not read the name. Examples of such plants? Yes, Khushi, correct. Maize, castor, cucurbits, etc. These monoecious plants can avoid dash, but cannot avoid dash. Tell me what? Kea Shah, what an answer. Orthogamy and geitonogamy. Rapid answer, correct answer. Well done. What about dioecious plants? The kind of flowers and the plants they have. Yes, Heli was the one rapidly replying. Male flowers and female flowers on separate plant. So you got a separate male plant, separate female plant. What's an example of the same? Papaya is the example of the same, correct? Date palm, etc. It will prevent dash and dash. Again, the same answer. Jalpari and others, correct. Somebody asked a question called, I could not read the name of that student. I don't know. Hercogamy. Who asked about hercogamy? One more phenomenon that is an outbreeding device called hercogamy. Herkogamy. Who's there who asked hercogamy? Okay, there was nobody. Then we can go to the next. Eva Patel. Huh, Eva, unmute and speak. From where did you get this term hercogamy?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The photo you just shared.
Acha, fine. Notes mein
The
shayad
blackboard
likha.
screen.
Fine, fine. Okay. If there is a physical barrier, obviously not mentioned in your outbreeding devices, but it is another outbreeding device, the one in which within the flower, between the stigma and the stamens, there is some sort of physical barrier, some leaf-like structure or some petal-like structure develops between the stamens and the stigma part. So this will physically be an obstacle between the anther and stigma. That is called as hercogamy. That is named as hercogamy. Is it clear, Eva? Fine, we move to the next topic. Pollen pistil interaction. See, in a previous topic, while we were discussing about the self-incompatibility, one of the genetic mechanism to avoid the autogamy. This is a further elaboration of the same, and that is termed as pollen pistil interaction. After the pollination, when the pollen grains are received on the stigma, pollen grains are received on the stigma. There is a constant dialogue going on between pollen and stigma. Now, dialogue means what? A sort of an interaction that is going on between pollen and stigma. What interacts over there? Proteins present on the surface of pollen grain or chemical components present on the surface of pollen grain and the receptors and chemicals which are present on the surface of the stigma. It's about their interaction. And these interaction, the chemical interaction between the components of pollen surface and components on the surface of stigma, it will decide whether the pollen is compatible or incompatible. See, stigma cannot allow anything and everything to germinate, isn't it? Any damn pollen coming over it, hundreds of different types of pollens may be coming to it. They may be of a different species. It is not supposed to allow them to germinate over there. You don't need the other species gametes to fertilize your own gamete and change the species setup. So pollen grains which are received from the different other species, they are incompatible one. They are not acceptable one. Many of the plants which want to avoid autogamy, in them, even a self pollen is something, pollen from the same plant. That is also something which is accepted as incompatible. Please understand this. This is the crux of this entire topic, the pollen pistil interaction. They say that every pollen that is received on the pistil needs to interact with the pistil, needs to interact with its own surface chemicals against the receptors present on the stigma part of that pistil. And that interaction will decide whether this pollen is compatible and or else incompatible. Now, in most of the plants, what is the compatible pollen? The pollen from a same species, but of a different plant. Let's say xenogamy, that kind of a pollen received, same species pollen, but from another plant. So they consider it as a compatible pollen. Once it is identified as a compatible, it will be allowed to germinate its pollen tube. Pollen tube will be allowed to extend through the style. And all the necessary, conditions which are required for post-pollination events, they are promoted over there. But if the pollen is found to be incompatible after this interaction, now what is that incompatible? Number one, it belongs to other species. So stigma receptors identify that these kind of proteins on the pollen, they don't belong to our species. So that is a rejectable pollen, incompatible one. Acha, if it has to avoid autogamy, even its own plant pollen, it is accepted as which one? Incompatible. It will identify the proteins present on the pollen surface. The stigma receptors will work out that. They will say that, they will work out that this is the pollen of a same plant. even that is to be avoided from further pollen tube development. So self-incompatibility will come over here. Basically, such incompatible pollen, they are rejected. Now, rejected doesn't mean physically they are thrown off the stigma. Point is that they are prevented from germinating on the stigma. They cannot establish their pollen tube formation process. They cannot, even by chance pollen tube develop, they cannot successfully allow this pollen tube to reach up to the ovule. So somewhere pollen tube growth is restricted within the style region. This kind of process is a first step in a pollen pistil interaction. There are so many events which are going to take place in this pollen pistil interaction, which finally will lead to fertilization, in which the step number one is acceptance or a rejection of a pollen. Pollen rejected if it is incompatible, either from other species or else from same plant. The second option, pollen is accepted if it is compatible, if it belongs to same species but obtained from another plant. If it is so, then the next step is accept that pollen and promote post pollination events, which are also part of that pollen pistil interaction. See, all events that are starting from pollen deposition on stigma, pollen एक बार stigma पे receive हुआ, till the pollen tube enters inside the ovule, all of them collectively are known as pollen pistil interaction, in which the first step is to receive the pollen, second step is to work out whether pollen is incompatible or compatible. Remaining steps we are going to see soon. But up to here, you have any doubts? Have you got any doubts in this aspect? Even a single student, if there is any small little doubt, please clarify it just now. Oh, not a single student has any doubts. That is amazing. Fine, as you suggest, you have no doubts, I accept. Pollen pistil interaction is a very long process. It starts with which event? Pollen deposition on the, yes, Shruti Gandhi, correct answer. Pollen deposition on stigma. That will start the pollen interaction. उससे पहले तो pollen pistil interaction हो ही नहीं सकता. And at what point pollen pistil interaction ends? Kashish, correct answer. Pollen tube entry in the ovule. Since the pollen deposition till the pollen entry, pollen deposition on stigma, and the pollen tube entry into the ovule, collectively all these events and in between all these events, they are called as pollen pistil interaction. That's called pollen pistil interaction. In these interaction, as and when it starts, actual interaction starts between which two? Chemical components of pollen interact with chemical components on stigma surface. Basically, your pollen grain has certain proteinaceous projections on its surface, and on the other hand, your stigma has got certain receptors to receive the pollen grain, and that interaction will let the system know whether the pollen is compatible or incompatible. Most of the plants, for them, what is the definition of a compatible pollen? Based on the source. Incomplete answer. Krisha, Trisha, Kashish. Incomplete answer. Same species. Kea is the one giving correct answer in this case. Same species but different plant. If a pollen is sourced by different plant of a same species, it is accepted as a compatible one. Once it is identified as a compatible pollen, what is likely to happen with that pollen? Acceptance or rejection? It still accepts that pollen, isn't it? Acceptance will be there. Once it is accepted, what will be the next? Yes, Devanshi, post-pollination activities or events are further promoted now. The second possibility is that the pollen received may be incompatible, which is the first kind of a pollen that is to be accepted as incompatible. Yes, pollen from other species. That is the most of that plants, consider it as the incompatible pollen. But many of the plants also consider the another category of pollen as the incompatible for them. Same plant, Mamadwar is correct. Even a same plant pollen also is accepted as the incompatible. The moment it is decided it's the incompatible pollen, what is the next step? Acceptance or rejection? Rejection, isn't it? The moment it is rejected, either first thing what will not be allowed is its germination of pollen tube will not be allowed. Absolutely correct. And by chance, even if it is germinating, yes, Hitarth, pollen tube growth in the style that is getting restricted. Hitarth Maliwat, first one in reply in that question. Okay. Preya had a doubt. Preya or Prachi, somebody had a doubt. Such name appeared over there. Who decided something? Question was raised by one of these two student. Preya, unmute and ask.
Sir, I was asking that like what will be the factors which will decide that which pollen is compatible, but then I got the answer like just
Okay. Fine. Do you have any question? Anyone else? Now it will be a break for 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And then after we will switch over to our next topic, post-pollination events. A break. Do not start. Pre-fertilization events after the successful pollination, in the sense that after receiving the compatible pollen, plant will promote pre-fertilization events. So let's try and understand this. First of all, we believe that once there is a pollen received and is permitted for pollen tube formation, so it has to be a compatible pollen. This pollen starts developing its pollen tube. As you can see, its pollen tube starts extending through the style, passing from the stigma and starts passing through the style region. This pollen tube is actually, it is an extension of which layer? For a pollen grain, which layer is supposed to extend further as the pollen tube? Somebody wrote wrongly, intine, exine rather. Who was that? Intine is the one. Who was that? Tanvisha. She wrote exine, which is wrong. It's the intine layer, which is made up of dash and dash. Yes, Asta, correct. Asta Gokhale. Pectin and cellulose. Intine made up of pectin and cellulose will extend its pollen tube and it will emerge through what? Which part of exine through which it will emerge? Yes, Tanvi correct. Devanshi correct. Germ pore. So through the germ pore, the intine will develop pollen tube. This will extend into this style region. And when it happens so, the contents of the pollen, which mainly includes the vegetative cell and a generative cell, or else the two male gametes, they will enter into the pollen tube. The pollen tube will further extend through the stigma style and will try to reach up to ovary, as you can see here in this pic. Now you know that two different types of pollens are likely to be received with respect to the number of cells they have. Either it can be a two-celled stage of pollen or it can be a three-celled stage of a pollen. Do you know what is that? For example, if I ask you two-celled stage of pollen, dash and dash is present in it. A two-celled pollen will have what in it? Yes, Tanvi and Asta correct. Generative cell and a vegetative cell. Each one haploid. How many percentage of the angiospermic plant species go for this? 60%. Another possibility is that three-celled pollen may be received, like what is shown in the pic. What's this three-celled pollen? Yes, explain. One vegetative cell and the two male gametes. Exactly. Your generative cell has completed its a second mitosis also and has given rise to two male gametes. So these three cells will enter into the pollen tube. So both these possibilities are there. How many percent of the species of angiosperms are of this category? 40%. Now, when pollen tube enters into the ovule, it enters inside the ovule through a small aperture. What you call this small aperture? If this is the, that is Ayush is correct. That is called as micropyle. Through the micropyle, actually, ideally, the diagram should have been like this. This is a better diagram. That here there is micropyle. This is an embryos. This is an ovule, the outer one. Whereas this is an embryo sac. First of all, the pollen tube has to enter into what? Micropyle. Via micropyle, it will enter into ovule. And from there, it will enter into embryo sac. It's a two-step process. Enter the ovule via micropyle, and now further enter inside what? The embryo sac. That's how one has to understand. So this diagram actually indicates that it is entering into straight away into the embryo sac. इसको embryo sac ही consider करना पड़ेगा. इसके आगे ovule होगा, ऐसा consideration होना चाहिए आपका. Coming to this point, the moment it will enter in the ovule and further try to enter in the embryo sac, its entry in the embryo sac at that time, it's the filiform apparatus. Filiform apparatus. That's gonna guide the pollen tube entry in one of the synergid. Look, in one of the synergids, the pollen tube is entering in. One pollen tube cannot enter in the two synergids. Either it enters into the synergid on right or else in a left side. It's the filiform apparatus of the synergids which is gonna attract the pollen tube, and that pollen tube will enter in one of the synergid, and here it will discharge its two male gametes in the cytoplasm of the synergid. See, synergids get disintegrated with this entry. And in that disintegrated synergids, the two male gametes will be released. With this, the pollen pistil interaction is over. Further जो आगे होगा उसको कहेंगे double fertilization. That's the next topic. But for time being, if you understand that the moment the pollen tube has discharged its two male gametes inside this, we say pollen pistil interaction is over. Did you all understand this? See this, okay, first I will revise. First I would like to revise, and then last point regarding significance of this pollen pistil interaction study. Significance of this pollen pistil interaction study. Yes. Pre-fertilization events. What's the first thing? Dhruvi? What is this? Gametogenesis? Kashish, correct. Receiving of compatible pollen. After that, what's next after receiving the compatible pollen? Pollen germinates, pollen tube develops through the germ pore. Yes. Pollen contents will move in this pollen tube, and now this pollen tube will start extending through stigma, then in style, and will try to reach to ovary. There are two types of different possible pollens received as a compatible pollen. Number one, either it is a two-celled pollen or else three-celled pollen. What is the first possibility? Two-celled pollen? Dash plus dash. Yes, Krisha, correct. Vegetative and generative cell. And by chance, if it is a three-celled pollen, what it shall be having? Vegetative cell and two male gametes. Even if it is a two-celled pollen, ultimately, even in pollen tube, the generative cell will go for mitosis and complete the formation of three-celled male gametophyte. So that is the confirmed arrangement. Three-celled है तो no issues. Two-celled है तो एक जो remaining mitotic division है to form the final male gametophyte with the three-celled, वो यहाँ पे हो जाएगा. Through which structure of an ovule the pollen tube will enter in the ovule? The entry of the pollen tube in ovule is via what? Micropyle. And then after, in an embryo sac, the pollen tube entry, for that, what is responsible? Yes, Diksha, correct. Filiform apparatus. Filiform apparatus. It is guiding the pollen tube to enter in one of the synergid and discharge its pollen over there, as you can see in these diagrams very well. Look at it. Pollen tube entered and two male gametes are released in this degenerated synergid. The synergid in which the pollen tube enters, that will disintegrate first. And in that cytoplasm, the pollen tube will release two male gametes. Now I was talking about something. The significance of pollen-pistil interaction. These days, researchers, those who carry out research in this field, plant breeding field over there, their focus is on pollen-pistil interaction. They are very much focused on the study of pollen-pistil interaction. All the events starting from the pollen deposition till the entry of pollen tube inside the ovule, collectively called as pollen-pistil interaction over there. They are very much interested in this study. Reason for that is it's a dynamic process over there. It involves pollen recognition, subsequently followed by promoting or inhibiting its germination. This knowledge which is gained over there in this area, it will really help these plant breeders, those which are in the field of breeding the plants. So plant breeders, they will use it in manipulation of pollen-pistil interaction. See, if you want to manipulate something, first of all, you should study it thoroughly. So they want to understand the entire mechanism of pollen-pistil interaction, how certain pollens are rejected, how some of them are accepted, and then they can manipulate and can make even incompatible pollens to make them accepted in the system. आपको अगर पता चल जाए कि by which mechanism ये पोलन आइडेंटिफाई होता है कि ये कंपैटिबल है या इनकम्पैटिबल, उसके बाद आप क्या कर सकते हो? अगर आप चाहते हो कि कोई इनकम्पैटिबल पोलन का भी फर्टिलाइजेशन हो जाए वहां पे, और आप एक नया हाइब्रिड वेराइटी डेवलप करना चाहते हो, तो नेचुरली तो प्लांट अलाउ करेगा नहीं। तो आप उस पोलन के ऊपर कुछ ऐसी मैनिपुलेशंस कर सकते हो बाय विच इट विल बिकम recognized as a compatible now. You can cheat the plant, you can decept this, it's called deceiving, deceptivity. So unless you understand the mechanism how it is recognized, you cannot cheat it, you cannot carry out deceptivity over there, you cannot make incompatible pollen compatible one. So for that purpose they are trying to research this phenomenon in detail. और आपको लगेगा कि why would you like to make some incompatible pollen a compatible one? Some of the plant breeders may be looking for developing a hybrid varieties, two different species to reproduce and make another one. Now naturally it's not going to happen, you have to induce it, and that is what I am talking about. I hope you have understood the topic. If any question is there, you ask, or else we move to the next topic. Yes, have any doubts in the same? Why do plant breeders carry out lot of research and try to understand the pollen pistil interaction? What is the reason their focus is on this field? Why they wanna gain the knowledge in the same? Are you all there? So that after gaining this knowledge, they can manipulate and can develop hybrid varieties by making incompatible pollen also accepted in this given setups. See, there is a phenomenon called artificial hybridization. अगर एक बार आप समझ जाते हो प्रोसेस, तो I mean concept अगर clear हो जाता है आपका, तो it is easy to understand the remaining process. For example, you have a bisexual flower. In nature, it is likely more likely to happen that it will go for autogamy. I'm not saying always it will go for autogamy, but imagine if it is a bisexual flower, and somewhere if it's not showing heterostyly, and somewhere if it is having synchronization in the timings of that pollen release and stigma receptivity, then why not it will go for autogamy? Everything which is in favor of that, it will be promoting autogamy, isn't it? But the prolonged autogamy over the generations causes inbreeding depression. So imagine in our agricultural crops, in which majority of them are bisexual, if you leave them in open and if you let them carry out self-fertilization every time, so then to every next generation will be the victim of inbreeding depression, increasing inbreeding depression. So in between, at regular interval after several generations, you should carry out cross fertilization, cross pollination, cross breeding. अब आप क्रॉस ब्रीडिंग कैसे इंश्योर करेंगे नेचर में? आपके पास ये प्लांट ए है, लेट्स से दिस इज प्लांट ए, और ये प्लांट बी है, एंड सेम स्पीसीज है, अब आप नेचुरली इनको छोड़ दोगे, इफ यू लीव देम ऑन देयर ओन, तो नेचुरली तो क्या होगा इनमें, बोलो? किसके चांसेस ज्यादा है नेचुरली छोड़ने पे? इफ यू लीव देम टू द नेचर, ऑटोगैमी. But in case if you want this to be only one option, no other option, that is a xenogamy, cross pollination. So how can you ensure that? तो logically ऐसा है कि first of all this, for example, you want the A plant to provide female gametes and you want B plant to provide male gametes, and that's how you want to achieve xenogamy. So the moment the plant A develops its floral buds, when the flower is in a bud state itself, with the help of forceps or scissors, you got to remove its all stamens. So literally you converted that bisexual flower into a female flower, unisexual flower. Then, till the stigma becomes receptive, you cover that flower with the help of butter paper or a plastic. It is called as bagging. The first step in which you removed its stamens in a floral bud state, so that its own pollen grains are not reaching to its own stigma. So before stigma becomes receptive, its stamens are removed over there, converted to a female flower. That is called emasculation process. Subsequently, you need to cover it with the help of a butter paper or such plastic bag or something, which is called as a bagging process. My question is, why should it be bagged over there? The answer is, wait a minute. The answer is that if this female flower is kept open, any other unwanted plant's pollen can be received on it. You do not want that. You just want this particular plant only to provide male gametes. So when you are very selective in this process, you have to avoid transfer of pollen on the stigma from any other unwanted plant. So it should be undergoing bagging over there. Now when the day comes that the plant breeders understand that in this period the stigma is going to become receptive. So on those days, the bag is removed and this stamen from the plant B is been brought here and it is dusted on this stigma. And once it is dusted, you have successfully achieved xenogamy. But one more possibility is there. Even after this, some other pollen can be also transferred on the same. So again, rebagging is done. After the desired pollen transferred to the stigma, again the flower is rebagged so that no other unwanted pollen is received even after stigma is receptive and received the concerned or desired pollen. Then when this plant will develop the fruit, it is confirmed it's a fruit formed by these two parents, this one with the female gamete and this one with its male gamete. 100% assured arrangement. How many of you could understand this artificial hybridization that is been normally used in crop improvement programs? बहुत ही लॉजिकल था. technical aspect and a very logical aspect. The one in which if you want the two parents, one to be used as a male and another one to be used as a female parent plant, so how would you deal with them? So the plant that is to be considered as a female plant, in that, in the beginning of the flower development, in the floral bud stage, first of all, you have to remove its stamens. So that pollen, own pollen, is not received on its stigma at its maturity. So in a way, literally, that is been converted into a female flower. Acha. The flower is covered with the butter paper or plastic bag. That is called as a bagging process. This is to avoid any other unwanted, undesirable pollen to reach on the stigma. Then what? Then a time comes when your female flower has stigma receptivity period achieved. At that stage, bag is removed, the pollen is transferred to the stigma. The pollen which is brought in is a selected desirable pollen. आप जिस प्लांट में से डाइवर्ट करना चाहते हो उसी का पोलन होगा. And that one is dusted on the stigma. Again, the rebagging is done to ensure that even after this pollination, some other pollen can also be transferred by air or insect. To avoid that, rebagging is done. Finally, its fruit develops. Seeds are available. These seeds are belonging to the two parents which I talked about. One was a female and another one was a male parent. Did you understand? अच्छा, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है यहाँ पे. I have got a question over here. Imagine the two plants which are taken in, they themselves are dioecious, wherein one is a male and another one is a female. Or in a way, you think that the flower that's gonna be used as a female one, it doesn't have a stamens at all. It itself is a female one only. सिर्फ female flower है, उसमें pistillate flower है, तो उसमें कौन सा प्रोसेस नहीं आएगा आर्टिफिशियल हाइब्रिडाइजेशन का? Emasculation. Yes, Tanvi and Devanshi and others. अगर वो फ्लावर ही यूनिसेक्सुअल फीमेल फ्लावर है, तो no question of removal of stamens from it, no question of emasculation. At least it has no chance of autogamy. हाँ, उसका जिटेनोगैमी हो सकता है, तो वो अवॉइड करने के लिए आप चाहते हो तो आप बैगिंग तो करना पड़ेगा आपको. So only bagging, pollination and rebagging will be involved. No emasculation involved over here. जो पहला स्टेप emasculation, दूसरा bagging, तीसरा pollen transfer, चौथा rebagging, उसमें से यहाँ पे emasculation is something that's gonna go away. That is something you have to understand. चलिए, पता चला क्या आपको पूरा प्रोसेस? Yes, so step 1. What is the step 1 in the artificial hybridization? Name it. Yes, then we correct. Emasculation is the first step in this artificial hybridization. It is required in which flowers? Bisexual flower or unisexual flower? Bisexual flower. It is done in bisexual flower of a male parent or a female parent. Female parent, Shruti, Tat, etc. Correct. In this, what is been removed? Stamens or carpels from the flower with the help of forceps or scissors. Stamens are removed. At which stage the stamens are removed with the help of forceps? Third stage of the flower, when flower is immature. Now, what is done with that flower which has already gone through emasculation? What is done with that? Bagging. Bagging में normally क्या use होता है? Butter paper. Bagging क्यों करना पड़ता है? Why bagging is required on that female parent which has gone through emasculation? Already its chance of autogamy are gone. So why would you carry out bagging of the same? Yeah, to prevent the deposition of any unwanted pollen on the stigma of that flower. Then at what time the bag is removed? And for what purpose? See, bag is removed. Yes, Swati, correct. When the stigma receptive, and for which purpose it is done? For which purpose it is done? For artificially depositing the pollen from the desired male plant to the desired female plant, isn't it? So that the pollen can be dusted on the stigma of the female plant which was back, and the pollen is brought from the desired male parent. After the third step, you leave it as it is. The stigma which is, yes, it needs to be rebagged. Again, to ensure no unwanted pollen is received, pollen bag is kept until it is ensured that the fruit is formed. That means successful artificial hybridization is achieved. Done? Have any doubt? Madam, stop recording. It is over.
Yes, sir.